There have been many discussions about guitars and how certain ones fit a specific genre better than others. From deathcore to emo rap to alt rock. Does it have to do with the tone wood? I think not. Scale length could be a factor if you're playing low-tuned music for sure. But the biggest attributing factor to sound is 100% the pickups. Well, it's the player, but from what we can control, it's pickups. Not every person is the type to want to swap out pickups or even pay to go to a tech to handle it for them. What guitar makes the most sense to buy if you can only have one with the specific genre that you play? There's been a million thoughts on this, and if you happen to be into metal, just know that right now you can enter in to win a guitar that's considered the perfect guitar for metal. We haven't announced what it is yet, but that definitely should give you a hint. Just join our JST Impulse Response Pack list by clicking the link in the description below. This will enter you for the chance to win that free guitar and a plethora of other things, as well as give you the IRs that Joey used in sessions like Attack, Conquer, Divide, Attila, and more for free. So get to it. On that note, what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST, and I remember when I first started wanting to play guitar. I was really into funk, soul, pop kind of stuff, and I went to go pick one up. And I ended up getting a Schecter Diamond series, and let me tell you, it did not sound at all like how I wanted. Then again, it's also the reason that I started playing metal, so that might have been a pretty happy mistake for me. But nonetheless, these days I find myself working on a wide variety of music. Everything from doom metal to radio pop, and I think that since I have a few guitars, it makes it really easy to grab and go when, I'm in need. But what if I focused mainly in one genre? Which is the smarter thing to do in my opinion, otherwise you spread yourself too thin and give yourself a headache, but whatever. I felt like breaking this down, so I have Trey from Gear Gods doing some of the examples, and I'm gonna start with one of the most popular and one of my favorites, the Stratocaster. I have one that's kind of in pieces at the moment. I'm doing some mods and stuff, but still gonna talk about it. The first guitar to have 3 pickups, and more importantly, the first that was able to blend the tone between pickups. A 5-way selector made it possible for you to use 5 different combinations for tone, making it the most versatile guitar to get a sound palette early on. That means neck, middle, bridge, and bridge, all at your disposal. Some consider it to have the best clean tones because they're bright and clear without the added chime from a Telecaster saddle, and they found a huge home in indie rock and blues with this pickup configuration. The neck is basically identical to a Telecaster, except for, the shape of the headstock. Take a look at that here, which I would say makes a very minimal difference. All in all, clear winner for the indie and blues scene, whereas the Telecaster made its name in country music. This is one of the most classic guitars of all time, popularized the single coil. It holds its main place in country music. And a big reason it holds its place in metal is the chiminess that's attributed to the unique saddle that comes on these guitars. Of course, there are some mods out there that have a different bridge, like the John 5 style Tele. You guys see me play that pretty often. But when we think Telecasters, we think of twang and resonance. We think of country stars like Vince Gill, James Burton, Brad Paisley. Very no frills, 2 single coils, but that's more than enough to get the job done. Other genres you'll see this in are classic rock, think Rolling Stones, blues, Midwestern emo pop punk these days. It's also the guitar most used in loops in emo rap or SoundCloud rap, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, you can mod a Tele to do anything. This is just where they happen to have a mainstay at the moment. But now let's step out of typical single coil territory for a moment and take it to the P90. Actually, there's something that isn't quite a P90 or generic single coil, and that found its home in the Jazzmaster. Some will argue about this specific Jazzmaster because it's the J Mascis one, and they're a little bit hotter than typical, Jazzmaster pickups. Anyways, let's get into it. The Jazzmaster, as it's aptly named, was originally made to be aimed at the jazz market, but let's take a listen to it. It has made its way into indie rock and alt rock for a few reasons. The type of pickups that come in these guitars. What looks like a standard P90 pickup is actually a Jazzmaster pickup. It lands somewhere between a single coil and a P90. If you want something between the bright cleans of a single coil and the mid-range heft of a 90, Jazzmaster pickups might be the ones for you. One of my favorite albums was recorded with the J Mask Esquire that I'm holding right now, which is a very hot take on a Jazzmaster pickup, and it's called Peripheral Vision from a band called Turnover. Other genres this is aimed at are funk, fusion, and blues. You can achieve amazing mid-gain tones with these as well, but since we started with OG single coil based to Jazzmaster, it's only right that we go to next in line as far as aggression goes. And that'll bring us to the Gibson Les Paul. My Gibson's in there. This is an Epiphone Les Paul anyways. One of the most iconic guitars ever. The Gibson EC150 is what introduced the P90 pickup in the 1930s, but since then it's become more popular in the Les Paul. My friend Mazin's borrowing mine at the moment, but I do have this Epiphone Les Paul with a P90 that's in a humbucker enclosure so you can hear what it sounds like. Many have called this the most versatile pickup ever made simply because it was the halfway point between a single coil and a humbucker. That means it could go all the way from doing country-styled licks to heavily distorted metal with ease. A nice warm mid-range tone as opposed to the chiminess of a single coil or the heft of a humbucker. This guitar has made a mainstay in dad rock, early 2000s pop punk bands, and more, but it was originally designed to be for jazz and blues, to add some more grit to the typical single coil sound. Much like the Jazzmaster, it's well equipped for mid-gain tones, but since it's a hotter pickup, it also nails harder rock. Randy Rhoads, Joe Perry, and more. So we've gone from country to hard rock. It's obviously a reason that certain guitars made more sense for certain genres. But what about when we wanted to go even heavier? The ESP LTD series. There are many variations on these guitars. The lower end models typically have issues like fret buzz, rough edges, etc. But there's one thing to be sure of. These guitars were built for metal. Think Kurt Hammett, James Hetfield, and the like. Here's an example clip of Kirk's signature ESP LTD. These ESP LTDs have two active humbucker pickups, but the first guitar to have humbuckers, period, was a Gibson Les Paul. It would have looked a lot like the one I'm holding right now, but this has passive humbucker pickups. Let's take a listen between active and passive really quickly to just show the differences here. There are tons of guitars that are aimed specifically at metal these days, but the ESP LTD is one of the most seen and iconic. Other popular brands aimed at metal are Ibanez, Schecter, Jackson, and Kiesel. Here's a clip of a Kiesel headless Vader actually that just by the looks of it, are aimed specifically at metal in 2022. Other genres that use these are, well, I don't know. I only see these guitars in like metal and prog bands, so just being honest. So we went over the Stratocaster, the Telecaster, the Jazzmaster, the Gibson Les Paul, the EC1000, the Kiesel Vader, and the genres that they are most fitting in. There are a million iterations of these guitars aimed at different looks and different tonal options, but at the end of the day, they all have an iconic birth that aided in the birth of genres in music as well. So if you were a bit lost on what type of guitar you felt you should get to start your musical journey, hopefully this gives you a bit of a better idea and understanding. Hopefully you don't end up with a Schecter Diamond series trying to play Snow from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, those were some great riffs in that song, come to think of it. But do you all agree with where I place these guitars in the genres that I thought they fit best? Are there some other guitars you thought should have made the list that I didn't cover in this segment? Do you think it doesn't matter at all? You should just pick up and play whatever because the tone is in the player's hands. Leave it in the comments below and I will chat with a lot of you like I always do. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, you only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Till next time, I am out of here. Mic drop, except as engineers we know, I'd never really drop this thing, especially because I have like 5 guitars on the floor and I'm not even taking the chance this time. Catch you guys later.